Hi children, now we are going to discussing chapter 15 establishment of the British Empire in India. From this lesson we able to learn how the East India Company came to India and armed traders and revolt against the British and revolt of 1857. The English imposed their rule in India, etc. Aurangzeb was the last ruler of Mughal rulers. He established control over the very large part of the territory that is now known as India. After his death in 1707 AD, many Mughal governors, that means Subedars and big Jamindars, began asserting their authority and establishing their regional kingdoms. Before British rule in India, the East India Company was ruled our country. Look at the figure. This is the headquarters of East India Company, which is located in London. Meanwhile, in 1600 AD, the East India Company acquired a charter, that means act, from the ruler of England, Queen Elizabeth I, granting sole right to trade with India. It looking for new lands from which could be buy goods at a cheaper price and carry them back to Europe to sell at higher price. Now we are going to discussing about mercantilism. Mercantile is a business entrepreneur that make a profit primarily through the trade, which is located in London. It is a trading company. In those days, trading company made a profit. By this time, the first English ships sailed down the west coast of Africa round the Cape of Good Hope and crossed the Indian Ocean. Had already established their power on the west coast, mainly in Goa. The Portuguese traveler Vasco da Gama discovered sea route first time in India in 1498. He reached Kerala. By the early 17th century, the Dutch, also called Holland, too were exploring the possibilities of trade in the Indian Ocean. After the Portuguese, the French traders arrived in India. The European countries, one by one, mainly English, Portuguese, Dutch and French, came to India, tried to establish their authority in India. The problem was that all the companies were interested in buying the same things. The fine qualities of cotton and silk in India had to big market in Europe. Spices like pepper, cloves, cardamom, etc. For these things, the great demand in Europe. The European traders formed their own companies to trade in India. The English traders formed the English East India Company and the French formed the French East India Company. Both companies fought against each other for many years to capture the trade in India. Each made efforts to drive their authority. They brought armies from England and French to help them in the fight. The companies acquired land in India and built their own forts to wage battle against each other. The Mughal emperors as well as Rajas and Nawabs began to realize how dangerous it was to let such traders maintain armies, build forts and fight for battles and use military force to establish their economic power and political power in their kingdoms by the companies. As long as the Mughal powers was strong, it had not been possible for the European companies to establish their own military powers in India. In fact, emperors like Shah Jahan and Aurangzeb had fought and defeated the European companies on a number of occasions. For example, in 1764 AD, Nawab Anwaruddin Khan of Arcot, which is located in Tamil Nadu, sent his army to fight against French company. The companies used their military advantage to increase their profit from the trade. On many occasions, when they saw two Indian rulers fighting among themselves, they would take side and get involved in the fighting. The English company, the French company gave support to the different rulers in India to fight each others. The rulers also gifted the companies large amount of money in return for their military help. For example, Dupleix, a governor of the French East India Company, helped Muzafar Jung to become the Nizam of Deccan. Muzafar Jung gave the French some territories near Pondicherry and the town of Machilipatnam. The companies also began to acquire small parts of the kingdoms as a gifts from the local rulers. They would collect land tax from the villages and towns in these areas and use the money for their trading activities. They also used this money for maintaining and improving their army. Slowly, the French company began emerging victories over the French company in the struggle for dominance in India. The English East India Company slowly occupying territories from the Indian rulers. In 1757 AD, the English defeated Siraj-ud-Dowla, the Nawab of Bengal, at a place called Plassey and established their rule over Bengal. The Battle of Plassey is an important event in Indian history. After that, the English started conquering many of the kingdoms of India, big and small. The English East India Company also forced the Nizam of Hyderabad to hand over the coastal Andhra Pradesh districts Krishna, East Godavari, West Godavari, Srikakulam, Vijayanagaram, Prakasam, Visakhapatnam and Guntur between the years 1765-1768. These were known as the Northern Sarkar of the Madras province of the company. Many Rajas and fought against the British. They includes Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan of Mysore, the Maratha Sardar Mahajit Scindia, etc. But their kingdoms were small. One by one, they lost them to the English. The most important generals of British, Robert Clive, Warren Hastings and Lord Wellesley, were successfully control the local rulers and large part of the areas under the control of English. The English had to fight with many kings and nobs to establish their rule in India. Farmers and landowners resisted them because of the English imposed very high tax on them and collected the taxes very strictly. The tribal people also lost their rights over jungle and land. Many Hindus and Muslims feared that the English would destroy their religion and convert them to Christianity by force. Now we are going to discussing about the revolt of 1857. This is a important event in Indian history. This was also known as First War of Independence. This revolution started by the Sipais, that means Indian soldiers. Later, so many sections of the people joined in this revolution, mainly royal families, landowners, farmers, tribal people, etc. This revolt started at Meerut. The royal families who joined the revolt include Nana Sahib, the adopted son of the Peshwa, and Tante Tope, his general Begum of Awadh, and Rani Lakshmi Bai of Jhansi. Hindus and Muslims fought together against their common enemy. The Indian soldiers began firing their guns on their English officers. These were some soldiers who had helped the English to conquer the kingdom of India. The Indian Sipais were not taking or getting their salaries on time, and they were not treated with respect in the British army. The Sipais suspected that a cartridge, that means tota, for their new guns are being coated with cow fat and pig fat. The soldiers was supposed to tear open the paper case with his teeth from the cartridge. The soldiers would pour the gun powder into the rifle. Cow is the holy animal for the Hindus. Pig was hated by the Muslims. Both are refused to use this cartridge, and the Sipais felt that their religion faith was being violated by the British. The sense of discontent at Meerut was widespread, and on this day the soldiers opened fire on their English officers. A wave of people came from the bazaars and attacking the banglas of the English. Many English people were killed. The Sipahis of Meerut had crossed the Yamuna and reached Delhi. They entered the Lal Kila, where the Badshah Bahadur Shah Jafar of the Mughal dynasty was imprisoned by the English. They declared him their Badshah and persuaded him to reject the sovereignty of the British. The people also gave raised a slogan, "Drive out the English and bring back Mughal rule." Many royal families whose kingdoms had been taken away by the British, they joined the revolt. The rebels looted the houses and burned the documents of moneylenders who had supported the British law. These moneylenders had become very powerful in the villages. The rebels fought very bravely, but there were two major weaknesses among them. In every town or region, different groups of rebels fought separately against the British. They did not fight together. The rebels also faced a shortage of modern arms. The guns and cannons, gunpowder they required were brought from the outside of India. Consequently, the rebels had to fight with old guns, arrows, spears, and swords. The rebels not able to fight with olden weapons and outdated weapons. The British officers tied some rebels to mouth of cannons and blew them to bits. Many rebels went to hiding, moving from place to avoiding being caught by the English. Many of them even went to a place like Nepal to hide. The British took more than 1 year to suppress the revolt of 1857. After suppression, in 1858, Queen Victoria of England made an important declaration. Under this declaration, the Indian government directly under the control of British Parliament. Look at the figure. It shows a view of Sipahi revolt at Meerut in 1857. Look at one more figure. It shows hanging the rebels at the time of 1857 revolt. Bahadur Shah Jafar and his son being arrested by the Captain Watson. After Aurangzeb, there was no powerful Mughal ruler, but Mughal emperors continued to be symbolically important. The revolt was put down by the company. Bahadur Shah was forced to leave the kingdom. After suppression of the revolt of 1857, the total Indian authority handed over by the British Parliament from the East India Company. In the coming class, we will discuss Chapter 8, Industrial Revolution.